Hi, Eric here. This time I'm going to be reviewing The Fountains of Paradise by Arthur C. Clarke. That doggone glare. There we go. So it's about 300 pages and hard sci-fi, hard science fiction. It my immediate like I just got done reading and it's about 298 pages, not including the appendices, so 306 or something like that. Longest book I've read in a while, I think. I don't know compared to Rama, but no, Rama was like 240, so yeah, longest one. It was a slow, slow burn. Um, Clark took his time meandering through the different characters and meander through events in time, all to just unbelievable establishment in order to get to the main, the main setup, the real uh, juiciness of the book. I guess you could say any book does that, but it just really just took it. He really just took his time, very methodical, and just in telling, because the book is grouped into main, like, I guess, arcs. You got like I think 4 or 5 arcs, and in that each arc is 10 chapters or 15, something around there. And so the first, what does the first one deal with? The first one deals with, so we got the palace, and then the temple, the bell, and I'm not gonna say anything else after this, but I'm gonna try to keep spoilers until later on in the video. Cross my fingers. I hope I can do it. I hope, but very methodical. At times, I kept, looking at when's the next chapter, like how many more pages do I gotta go. Um, I mean, it varied. It depends. It varied from chapter to chapter, but sometimes I felt kind of like I was reading a science review. I mean, this when I say hard sci-fi, I mean it could be real. Like the attention to detail is just unescapable. I mean, it's just there's so much detail and thought and science went into this. Like Arthur C. Clarke was a scientist, and it shows if you read the appendices in the back. I mean, he peer review. I mean, the papers, the science review papers that he went over and I guess researched, and his colleagues who are also in field of science, peer reviewed, looked over his novel here, science fiction novel, and helped him. I mean, it's just it's so lifelike, which so and I it is just amazing. I mean, I feel like it should be read just because I mean, we could see something like this in the future very very well. This book, I believe, takes place roughly maybe 150, 160 years from now. Um, so within that scope, who knows the way that we're going? He um he starts off talking about, and this is on the very, I don't know what you call that, the very top of the book. An epic novel of two daring men, two daring dreams, 20 centuries apart. So the very beginning kind of and I should say it takes place in well, Sri Sri Lanka or something of something that he renamed, but close. And it's right there on the map behind me. So right below India on this little island is where the story takes place mainly. But it starts off with him just talking about 2,000 years ago, this unbelievably cruel king and his drive to become a god, like his self title of a god, and he was trying to reach the heavens. So all that very beginning and the theme throughout correlates to the present 2,000 years later, and there's constant comparisons here and there. But I once again took a ton of notes. Definitely helped because there was a lot going on, and in the very beginning, I think I don't even remember. I think I was 20 pages in. I was just utterly lost. So, but it if you that once if you retain any of it towards the end, if you read it all relatively close to each other, it becomes pretty clear what everything is. There's just a ton of name drops that are very hard to pronounce. I would probably mess up a lot of them. I mean, some of the names: Venerable Bodhidharma Mahanayaka Thero the 85th. And I mean, the name is like that long. Another prominent character, Johann or yeah, Johann Oliver de Awis Sri Raja Singh. The Raja Singh Raj, I'm just calling him Raj, is a pretty notable character in the book. So let's see. So we'll talk. I'm not gonna. I'll keep it. Try to keep this short. We'll talk. The palace. The first arc deals with the this king, this king who wants to become a god, and he he kind of like usurps. They get into like I don't want to go through the whole thing, but he pretty much usurps the throne. He claims a spot on the throne that he is not supposed to have. And meanwhile, the other person who actually had claim to it flees, plots his revenge for 20 years. Meanwhile, this king is fearful the whole time that he's gonna get usurped. So he flees the kingdom, I guess, and builds his own on this mountain next to another mountain. It becomes clear in the book. But and from there he builds an incredible palace, which if you read the very ending, all the all the places that Arthur C. Clarke described are real. Um, the mountain, I guess the mountain with the Kalidasas, which is the king Kalidasa, the mountain with his palace on it is there. Like you or me, we could go visit this mountain and explore it. And he's like, he hardly admitted any details. It was, and then I think the other mountain next to it is, I don't know if it's one with like the Buddhist temple on it, maybe, but that mountain is extremely accurate, just with slight like geographical changes. So, anyways, this king builds this kingdom, and on this kingdom, he has like he carves a band around the mountain, and it's like a flat band, and has all these women figures, and I guess their servants painted on it. And what was it? It was called a fresco, a painting done rapidly in fresh plaster, and then it dries. so it's there forever, and that's real. Like we could visit that. This fresco on this mountain in Sri Lanka is there apparently. I mean, I've never been, but it's there. So, but the in the story, the king makes this, and these are his like deities or angels or something. I can't remember exactly. There's the holy ones, and he makes it to where he's the only one who can now see them. You know, he kind of walls them off, so he's the only one who can see them. But he was a very cruel king, and what was one of the things? Yeah, one of the things was this that describes the king, and I thought just how like he comes across as innocent, but this he would have given the artist who created the frescoes wealth and servants. He would have never the artist would have never needed to use his hands again, and after a while would not have missed them. And that's like that's he wanted no one else to have this artistic expression except for him. You know, he was the one trying to attain holy status to reach the heavens. Meanwhile, you got our other A or B story. They're both running throughout the book. Our other story about a guy named Morgan who is a civil engineer who came down from I don't remember where he came from, Africa or well came from maybe Europe. I can't remember where exactly he came from, and came to Sri Lanka to meet this Raj, and essentially he wants to um, create an incredible uh, uh, create a project of the scope of which no one has ever seen. On excuse me, behind that was a behind the scenes moment. on on this Buddhist temple mountain, so he pretty much wants to just ask the monks, find out a little bit about him, and then ask the monks to get out because he wants to build this unbelievable engineering feat. And I don't know, but one of the things that they mentioned that so to know how notable he is, a Morgan built a bridge from oh my gosh, now I'm gonna have to look it up. I'm thinking oh I've forgotten where. That's where I got the Africa from. He built a bridge from Africa to might have been like South America. Oh my goodness. And this huge bridge. I mean, it's an unbelievably monumental bridge that was 3 kilometers tall. Like this huge mega bridge. So that's where he's coming from. He was that was a feat, that was an endeavor in and of itself, and now he's wanting to do something even greater, which is simply unbelievable. I mean, it's this thing has been talked about for so long. I mean, in the appendices, he goes on to say, like, people speculated of this idea in the 50s. I mean, or 40, way. I mean, just a long time ago, and just had the forethought. I mean, to really think about it, and it's just some of these people in their future sight is just unbelievable. Um, so pretty early on, really, I mean, like it's the king and all that kind of takes a back seat after like page 30. You find out that the king dies, and then you kind of at page 30 you really get a sense of okay, this part of it, this took place 2,000 years ago, and Morgan and Raj are in the present time, 2160 or something, or 40, I don't know, but they're in the present. So then you get a sense of that. But it was pretty. I didn't know where that was going, but I didn't think he would automatically tell us that the king was gonna die. Just like literally end it, kind of, then make the king kind of take a back seat. But it became interesting to read about him. So let's see. Yeah, yeah, that's or well, I guess it was page 40s, mid 40s that the king takes a back seat. So that's my bad. Uh, oh, another I guess setup thing is to tell about the future, to tell at which point where we are at in the future, is at this point we have colonized uh Mars, Mercury, and the moon, and then a little later on the moon. I won't say yeah. So we're pretty we're pretty far in there. We're pretty advanced. And then let me make sure I don't have anything else. And then the idea for the whole book, like this book's the main point, plot, main whatever, all comes down like the whole setup, 50 pages, all built up to this Morgan guy wanting to build a space elevator, and that's what he wanted to. He wanted to go to the Buddhist mountain, which I don't remember what it was called, but some kind of like Hindu sounding name. Wanted to go to that mountain. I say Hindu and Buddhist. I don't. Yeah, I but I don't know. I think I know. I think he played with religions a little bit, but monks. I don't know. Some monk mountain, and that's where he decided that that was the geographically the best place to build this space elevator, and it would go up 40 kilometers into the earth, into the atmosphere, and from there they would like drag an asteroid over to the top of this elevator, or yeah, and anchor it that way in a stationary in like a satellite orbit where it wouldn't move. It's all explained in detail. I mean, it like this a couple times. So I mean, if I'm just gonna give an extreme overview, and the the tower itself will be made out of like little nanotubes that I have seen on in articles, or at least the headlines, that they're trying to build like the thinnest like string, or the thinnest like thinner than spider webs material, but almost as durable as steel out of nanotubes. And it's just like, to read that, I'm like, this guy, like, it is so accurate. Like, I don't even know what part. The only part that makes this possible is the fact that it's so far in the future. But it's just like that. I guess technology is so much more advanced. But it's just like we're on like we're right there. Give us another 150 years and we'll be there. So it just seems so real. And then why not? Why not do it? I mean the um positives seem to be pretty good. We could be out there. We could be on the. We could just go to the edge of space for a couple bucks, according to this book. It'd be pretty cool. Let's see here. So shortly after the space elevator is, um, shortly after the space elevator is introduced, or the idea of it, the Morgan's intent on going to this mountain, we kind of step away from uh, we're not talking about the king anymore. We're no longer in the present. We go back like 160 years or something, with the arrival of a spaceship from the outer regions of somewhere called Starglider. And I don't. I mean, the star that was cool. I don't know. I kind of. I mean, it helped. I mean, I guess it had a point. And so let's see. But the Starglider comes in, and it turns out to be, and I love it. I mean, it was like They first thought this thing was like 500 kilometers wide. I mean, this thing is just barely, and it's just a little tiny, might even be 20 meters long in space with like its own like satellite dish, like its beacon, its homing, not homing device, but its telecommunication device back to home, circling around. That's what gave it its 500 kilometer or whatever. I mean, it was huge. That was definitely for someone obviously who does miles and all that and feet. I wasn't 100% sure on the distances. I mean, I have a general idea of meters, and I guess kilometer. I mean, a basic, I guess, idea. I couldn't tell you what they convert to, but anyways, so the star glider kind of it's from this alien civilization, and it flies by Earth, and Earth comes in contact with it, and it pretty much answers every Earth question we could think of, and I love it. It was very cool. Yeah, it was very cool. So, it. I'm trying to think how to explain. I mean, there's not much. I'm not gonna go over all the questions, but we asked it. I mean, we sent it like encyclopedias, Chinese dictionaries. I mean, different language dictionaries, and it eventually learned. I mean, it was kind of like an AI. It eventually learned our language, and we were able to communicate with it. And at first, they weren't sure if it was intelligence or not, but it didn't respond to humor, or it didn't understand. It was very um, robotic in certain aspects of speech and expression. So we asked it all types of questions, and some of the questions were like some of the answers. I mean, this thing just like absolutely shot down. Like it said that how many other civilizations are out there, and there's I love this is like I love it because I think I read in Draco Tavern this it was very similar, but it put us in categories. Like this robot said, yeah, you guys are a category 5 civilization. There's so many ones, so many twos, so many I don't know, 43s, 44s, 100 and some fives, and so on. And then they asked, was there a six? And he said, yes, we're a category 6. And then they asked, are there sevens? We can't tell you any further. We don't allow younger civilizations to learn about the technology that's more advanced than them. And I'm like, oh man, I love that idea. That idea is so odd. Like the fact that there is an ungodly, I can't. And Draco's Tavern also, I think, glossed over it, but their ability to who knows? I mean, you can let your imagination run wild, I guess but well, okay, you can kind of figure out for this. So category 1 is stone tools. Category 2 is metals and fire. 3 writing, handcraft and ships. Uh, 4 is steam power, basic science. 5 is atomic energy and space travel. 6 is to convert all matter to energy, and 7, well, there is one. I mean, who knows what 7 could possibly be, but um, I just like that was cool. And then he said, most of the category, there's only like a couple category 5s with religion and just the you could like you. It kind of almost sounded like the robot was being funny and how much he denounced religion. Like I just found it like kind of like I don't he's that he had genuine like the robot the satellite or whatever ship had the probe. It was a probe. Had genuine like he would ask like how do you guys why do you guys commit to these beliefs like it was just so I don't know but that was cool. So that started to be interjected in the story, and then yeah the so then you find you find out. like there's different Morgan, what Morgan, Morgan trying to get this tower built and all the things that he's running into. I mean, funding, safety. I mean, Clark just goes over everything, just like where he's going to get funding from. He's going to get funding from this guy in the Sahara Desert. Well, it's not a desert anymore because in this time period, it's 78. Where did I read it? 78 meters underwater, which I thought was cool. So now they're all that whole place is investing in boats now. But that's that. But so I think once I read that, I just the it's just the detail. Like there was no. I mean, this was almost like a manual on how to build this space elevator. Is what it felt like at times as well. Just the slowness of it. I can't express enough. I mean, it was good, but just like the level of detail. I mean, he just went like we could have probably done without the. I mean, you could have made it a little shorter exposition about the wealth and about the other things, but I mean it all had an incredible. It all amounted to something, which was. I mean, it amounted to the ending, which was not what I expected, not what I wanted. The chapter was like 8 pages long or something. First couple chapters, I'm like, what the heck? What are we doing? Like, what are we doing here? Like, this is stupid. I wasn't like, I thought it just, so there's spoilers there, but um, so I kind of interjected that right, kind of where, I'm not done, still not done talking, but yeah, the string test, but yeah, yeah, I'm not gonna read any more of this. Like I said, like he just goes on and on about the elevators, like proponents. I don't know if that's the right word. Against proponents against the elevator and what their argument would be in reference to like building the first locomotive through or going tunneling through the building the first tracks through a mountain for a locomotive. The argument or a subway. I can't remember which one it was, but like that argument he applied from or no, it wouldn't be a subway. It'd be a locomotive from the '60s. I think he took the '60s argument and applied it. 200 years later, and but that it was still it, he just constantly compared back to the past. Used arguments from the past like he would in like a court case, and it made a lot of sense. Like I never, to build this tower. Oh, I think the simple argument was, well, people are afraid of heights. Why are you going to build trillions of dollars? Why are you going to build a huge tower for trillions of dollars and people aren't going to ride it because they're going to be scared of heights? That absolutely makes sense. Like it truly does. Yeah, I get it. I really like. I do. I can understand that. And then it was answered. They answered it. So let's see. That was, that yeah, the last I think is the last 100 pages. I mean, it picks up. It becomes a page turner. I mean, I was no longer trying to look ahead. I mean, it becomes a lot more interesting the last 100 pages. But then get to the end again. Spoiler territory. I am going to ruin the end. Spoilers. Arnold Halt here. If proceed with caution. Proceed with caution here. The very ending, the last couple chapters, I'm warning you. The last couple chapters are the end, the end to the culmination of like 60 some pages of drama, and it just kind of ends. You don't really know what happens. Okay, and then the next chapter happens. This last chapter, and it goes back to the star glider. At this point, humanity, star glider said he would send his information back to home, star home, and they would, if they'd be able to send a message to Earth like 150 years later or something like that, and they would be able to possibly arrive another 500. The last chapter deals with the aliens on Earth. They made it to Earth, and so I'm reading this and I'm like, what are we doing back at the aliens? Like, I don't like whatever. Well, I just, I kind of assumed too quickly because it was, ah, it kind of reminds me of, I don't know, like a comic I read called, I think it was called The Tower or something, but The Tower, because it was uncompleted when the last chapter ended, and then we went through this ungodly time skip. It was uncompleted. The tower is quadruple the size. They times it by four, made it to be able to carry four times the amount of passengers that it could, or squared four, yeah, four, I think, whatever. And the aliens look, the aliens are talking to a bunch of kids and learning information from kids because they say you learn from kids to interact with adults or whatever. And he like he's on this, I don't know if on this mountain, just somewhere, and he looks and he sees this hustle and this, it's just, there's this planet's like uninhabited at this point, and he looks and sees this tower, and it's quadruple the size, and his ship is docked up on Ring City. So the tower, it used to be an asteroid. They made a city out of it, and it on one of the levels that you'll read all about. I can't, one of the levels, they have like built up a city around this tower, and there's a billion people living there, and that's all I needed. Like really, the ending could not have been any better. The payoff was huge, in my opinion. To find, to go through all that, and then you find out the name of the tower, and it just goes full circle. Oh, it was so good. So I mean, it was so good. I think, what did I write on my notes? I love, in huge, huge print. Love the tower. You can probably barely see that, but billions of people reside there, and the scope was so grand. I mean, you can just absolutely envision this tower after reading all about how it was built, and it was just, this is unbelievable. I think that was, I don't know if it was 500 years. I don't remember. There's a date. It kind of 1500 years. I think it was 1500 years. They finally came back. The aliens came back. So the tower, that's what it was, and there's different foreshadows and different quirks by Morgan saying he'd like this tower to last as long as the frescoes, and 2000 years, and everyone's, oh yeah, okay, whatever, but it does, and that was just awesome. So I think everyone who's into hard sci-fi or science fiction should, at least read The Fountains of Paradise. It was enjoyable. I don't know if I'll be rereading it. I'll probably just watch this review. But like I said, the beginning was kind of a drag for me. Definitely, sure, yep. But towards the end, it really picked up, and then the very last chat. I mean, that I just want someone to draw, put a drawing of that, a frame of it on my wall. I mean, or I don't know. I could just a scope. I mean, it was just colossal. I can only imagine it, and I love that stuff. That type of grandiose ness. I'm just gonna make up my own word here, but so enjoyment. I mean, yeah, ending. ending way up there, but good. Like Arthur C. Clarke, I mean, he comes through again, so check it out.